Welcome, Ruth, to this
Did you
afternoon.
get my email?
Your voice is a bit distorted, but I hope you can hear me. saying your network bandwidth is low. Okay, so now Ruth has dropped off. Never mind. We'll continue. So welcome everyone. Ruth's back. So welcome, Ruth. I hope you can stay with us. I'm just going to share my screen. So let me know if you can see that. I just wanted to...
Yes, I can see it.
Yeah, okay. I can hear you better now, so hopefully your connection's improved. So I wanted to just have another look at this quote, and then also a Course in Miracles lesson, which we'll discuss for 10 minutes or so, and then go into a meditation. So can you read that quote? Is it big enough on your phone to read, or should I read it?
Yeah. I can read it.
Okay.
The eye through which I see God, same eye through which God sees me. My eye and God's eye are one eye. One seeing, one knowing love. One love, sorry.
So Christian 13th century German mystic, really. He was known as a mystic because he wrote things like this, called Meister Eckhart. Not to be confused with Eckhart Tolle. This was many years before. Who knows? Maybe Eckhart Tolle was the reincarnation of Meister Eckhart, quite possibly. But he gives us a very poetic description of the inner experience of seeing through and knowing yourself as this presence, and he calls God, and in the end he calls it love as well. It's one seeing, one knowing, one love. And so this relationship between what's been called God in most religions, or we can call it love, divine love, or agape love, it's been called in more secular terms, and human beings, is the core of all authentic spiritual teachings. It's really about this relationship between man, humans, and God, and every teacher, spiritual teacher and mystic is really primarily concerned with that relationship. And the interesting thing is that they all say the same thing. So although this cannot be that obvious, because we still have seeming different religions, and we still have seeming different sects of religions, different branches of religion, something like 20,000 types of Christianity. This is all a bit bizarre when really there's just one message, that they're all saying the same thing. They're all pointing to the same truth. So the different language and the metaphors they use shouldn't blind us to that truth. So whereas anyone who's experienced even a taste of this presence, unconditionally loving presence that we can call God in a simple word, is cannot fail to see the similarity between these teachings, and that similarity is really unmistakable, and it's confirmation of the truth that they know deeply, or at least they've glimpsed that truth within themselves. So I used in today's email, which I hope you received, Ruth. Oh, you did. I see you replied to it. I just quoted from 3 different sources. So we've got Meister Eckhart. You just read that quote. And there's the famous Sufi poet Rumi, He was obviously from the Islamic tradition. He was an Islamic scholar and a Sufi poet. And he wrote, I searched for God and found only myself. I searched for myself and found only God. So again, clearly indicating that God and the self, the true self, are one and the same thing. And in the 19th century, a guy called Swami Vivekananda, who was one of the first Eastern teachers to leave India, and he went over to the US and he started speaking there and spreading teachings of yoga. And so about Vedanta, which is the ancient Indian teachings. So the essence of Vedanta is that there's but one being, and that every soul is that being, capital being, in full, not a part of that being. So in other words, we are one with that being, that presence, God, whatever you want to call it. Same message from another spiritual teacher and mystic himself. He was also deeply connected to this source, this beingness himself. And so all of these teachers and poets and writers write from the state of mind of actually knowing experientially that this is true. So you have three different quotes from different spiritual teachers coming from different religious traditions and cultures, race groups, and also times in history. These quotes span about 7 centuries, all saying essentially the same thing. And I could probably pick another 100 quotes if I wanted to, saying the same thing. This is a message that's been echoed over and over and over again by every great spiritual teacher and their teachings. So it's bizarre that people still sometimes believe that there's only one truth. The truth only exists in one place. I had an experience actually with a Course in Miracles group who shall remain nameless, but they found out that I'd done a Buddhist Vipassana retreat, which was 10-day silent retreat. And they said, "Oh, no, you're not pure enough for us now. We can't let you, guide meditations and speak and so on to our members, because somehow you've been corrupted by this Buddhist teaching," which is a bit bizarre, because Jesus himself says in A Course in Miracles that a universal theology is impossible, but a universal experience is not only possible but necessary. And I had, during that retreat, I had some very profound experiences, what one could call mystic experiences. Sorry, Ruth, you said something, but it just got very distorted. Okay, never mind. This universal experience that Jesus is talking about.
I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything, but I will in a minute.
Okay, so this universal experience that Jesus talks about in this quote it's not only possible but necessary. Is what's been called a mystic or mystical experience in spiritual circles. And what characterizes a mystic or mystical experience is that it's intensely personal. It's your own experience. So I'll give you an example from my experience, because that's all one can do having had a mystic experience. During this retreat, I had on day 9, it was day 9 of this silent retreat. So it was the last day of full silence, and just before the lunchtime bell, which was at 11 o'clock, we'd break for lunch, sitting, and I'd been in meditation for a couple of hours in the hall, because you eat in a hall, and I just spontaneously had this this vision just like popped into my mind of a hand. It was like literally the hand of God just appearing out of nowhere. And it had this kind of bright white glowing orb in it, like it's like a crystal ball or something, but slightly kind of oval. And I just kind of held it there, and I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. I see that in my mind, and then I just feel it going into my heart chakra. It was like, oh, gets put in there. I was like, whoa, I can feel that. It's like there's an energy there. And then I saw the face of Jesus. And so the whole experience maybe lasted a minute. And I was like, okay, that's pretty interesting. It's like been referred to as the jewel, that of immense value, of no price, because you can't buy this. Money can't buy this. It's an experience. And
what did the face of Jesus look like?
Well, I think it was him. I mean, I can't say for sure. It wasn't like Jesus written on it, but it seemed to be similar to images that you've seen, paintings, drawings, and I think we draw on these images. These are in our popular culture, so then the mind kind of draws on that image and brings it up. And so it was kind of like that. So whether it was him or not, I don't know, but it was symbolic. Imagery is.
But that was
symbolic.
I understand.
It's just symbolizing where it comes from. So there's a kind of clear, okay, so this is coming from Jesus, and that it's this pearl of greatest price.
I've also seen an orb.
Have you? Okay.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's a bit distorted. Okay. You said you've also seen an orb.
Yeah, sorry, I'm. It's still cutting out, but yeah, I've seen an orb, so I really recognise that. I wouldn't describe it in exactly the same way, but it's definitely an orb it's an orb of light with sort of tentacles of light coming off it. I understand that the sort of as an inner well, that looked like it was outside of me, that orb, but I felt the inner experience as well, the mystical experience. From something that's coming outside of me, but also my heart, and the words came to me very clearly, very clear words came with it, and but it's a feeling of love in the heart that came, but it was just some simple words that came to sort of kind of comfort me. And then I found a book shortly after that. I just found a book, and I was reading different people's descriptions and of their experiences, and that orbs seemed to be quite a common experience. Seeing orbs, and also hearing the words, like even the same words were heard by other people. They giving accounts of their experience. It was similar, but it's interesting what you're saying about this whole thing, about the whole message of today. It is an interesting one for me to try to. I know I have those had those mystical experiences, and it's within, but I feel like we've been taught somehow that God is outside of us, maybe through traditional sort of Christian teachings. You kind of, I don't know, look to the sky or something to find that connection. Up in the sky.
It's crazy.
So it's like somebody, even in that song, songs are always coming to me in that song. From a distance, God is watching us from a distance. So it always sort of, it's like those things play out in our sort of thoughts, like, is God at a distance, you know, or like who are you reaching out for when you're trying to speak?
Well, then, you know, to answer that question, I had
God, but then there
another
is
experience.
something about looking up, because I don't know, there's something to do with the crown chakra. Sorry, you're cutting out again. I can hear you now, I think.
I had another experience that same afternoon. So I went off to lunch, and I kind of pondered it and contemplated it, and it seemed to be symbolic of this, you know, idea of the jewel of greatest price that's been spoken of. That, you know, this was being given to me. It was like, and so I was like, okay, well, so, you know, it's symbolic of that I'm actually having a very profound kind of experience and realization, but more is to come. So that afternoon, I went back to my room, because you can meditate in your room. And after 9 days, you know, my body was really sore. It's just because you've been sitting this cross-legged position for hours and hours. And they were saying, no, don't lie down during the meditation time. So I was like, no, you know, I actually just want to lie down here. Unfortunately, no one's in your room checking. So I was just like, yeah, I'm going to lie down and just relax. And so I think the relief of that, and just the kind of relaxing the body, relaxing the mind. And I just had this moment, and it really was a very brief moment of just pure, what I'd call pure formless awareness. There was no thought at all. It was just really open, spacious awareness for maybe, one doesn't know, because these moments, you know, in this moment, there's no time. It just kind of is. And the mind just stops, and there's just like this really beautiful openness and an experience, obviously, of that goes along with it, that feels very peaceful. But no thought. There was no like interpretive thought for a while, and that might have only been 30 seconds. I don't know. It wasn't very long, I don't think. So in the Course in Miracles, it calls this a holy instant. It was really just, you know, this instant, and I went into the space, and then I came out of it, and immediately what Jesus calls the Holy Spirit, which is just a remembrance of oneness, came to me and said, yeah, well, this is what you've done. You've covered over this pure formless awareness that you just experienced, and the entire world is a cover over this experience. So it's just a justification for all kinds of thoughts and emotions that cover this, that just obscure it. And that's really the only purpose for the world. But this wasn't, it's difficult to describe, because again, it's an inner experience, but it wasn't some kind of intellectual, oh yes, okay, I see that, you know, there's a theory there, and I see that. And I was really moved. I was deeply moved to the point of tears. I cried, because I was like, that is just so incredibly sad that we have this absolutely pristine awareness, which you can call God or love or pure formless awareness. It's perfect, it's flawless, it's whole, it's complete, it's sinless, it's innocent, just pristine. And I had this moment where I just really experienced that absolute purity of it. And then we cover it over, and we invent an entire world of time and space that's seemingly outside of us, simply to justify all of these thoughts and emotions, which are only designed to cover over this awareness. So this is the veil of illusion, you know, that all the mystics and the masters talk about. But it was so visceral, it was so experiential and personal that, yeah, you know, I cried, and it took me a few minutes just to kind of come out of that, and I felt that sadness very, very deeply. It was like the loss of this, you know, of our divine essence. and the sadness at that, and realizing that I'd done this to myself. Like, part of the sadness was I chose to do this. It was very clear that, you know, I was responsible. And how could I have done that when you have this absolutely pristine, pure, formless awareness, and then you invent all these thoughts and emotions, and now those thoughts and emotions seem to be justified by this world that have been made up by these thoughts and emotions. So it's a self-perpetuating cycle. But it was very, very clear to me exactly what had happened. You know, this veil of illusion that had been pulled over the truth. And again, you know, that's a mystical experience. It was just a very deeply felt experience. It's difficult to put into words, which showed me, you know, very, very clearly that this is true. That what I'd experienced there, you know, is the truth, because I had this then voice that gave it some meaning immediately afterwards, that said, yeah, well, this is, you know, you've just seen this, and actually you've just seen the truth of what all these teachers are saying, that this is a veil of illusion that's been pulled over. It's been used to cover over the truth. And it was really profound, because once you've experienced that, how can you doubt that knowledge anymore? I think I knew it on some level before. I knew it intellectually, theoretically. I'd had maybe some glimpses of it, but that experience, for such a short time, you know, I'd say that was a life-changing experience. And that's kind of the nature of mystic experiences, is that they change people's lives, even if it's only an experience that lasts for a few moments, because it's so profound. You remember it, and you can never forget that. And so in one moment, your life can change. And I will always remember that experience. You know, it will remain with me for the rest of my life. Both of those experiences, but particularly the second one. It was almost like the first one is a warm-up to the second, saying, right, we're going to give you the jewel of greatest price, and you're going to actually go beyond all thought and all imagery to see that it's just this pure formless awareness. That's what it is. And have a direct experience of that. And you know, that it was certainly a life-changing experience. I think it just consolidated what I sort of theoretically knew to be true, and maybe certainly I think I believed it, but that went beyond belief. That wasn't about belief. That was about direct experience, and that's really what the mystic experience is about: the direct experience. So that in a way you just cannot doubt it anymore, because it's so obvious and so clear to you in your experience, and you can't really translate that in words. So mystics can talk about their experiences, but people who haven't had these experiences can't really get it. It's very difficult to really get it on that level unless you've had the experience. So the mystic experience characterizes, you know, to be a so-called mystic simply means that you have your own experiences, these deeply felt personal experiences of something that's transcendent, something that's out of this world, something deeper or higher. And that's all the qualification there is to be a mystic, that it's in your own experience. And then if you speak and you write from that experience, you can sort of tell. So when you read Rumi or any of these great poets, there's an authenticity there. There's a part of you that resonates with it, because you can tell that this has been written from personal experience. It's not these are not words that are coming from some kind of intellectual, theological mindset. It's coming from a practical experience, and then trying to put this into words. And so
I sometimes, just thinking about that, I sometimes feel like I'm still in the battleground of being annoyed about other people's illusions, but then that's just an illusion myself, that, you know, I'm getting caught in the illusion myself. You know, I'm sort of like thinking, how can't you see this? How can't you see this? And it's like, why are you being
So there's a judgment. There's a judgment there of others.
Why are you saying crazy things? But yeah, it's sort of like
this experience, this pure formless awareness is totally without judgment, because in that experience there is nothing to judge. It's just total emptiness, that pure formless awareness in which there is no other to perceive. There's nothing else there. So how can you possibly judge if nothing else exists in that state? So
but then I suppose we are in the illusion, aren't we? Like well, I don't know. We're not in the illusion truly, but we're sort of, our minds are always kind of playing tricks on us, I guess, or we're just allowing the mind to play tricks on us. Oh, have I cut out again?
No, can hear you fine.
Yeah, so I sort of maybe it's being in that battle thing, maybe it's sort of helping me in some way to sort of let go of that illusion or step back from it, but because you can't change anybody but your own experience yourself. So but it's still sort of part of my communication and part of, like, when I'm I write about it because I feel I can't sometimes I feel like I'm being silenced in a way, so then I want to write about it, but then maybe that's just helping me sort of battle through the illusion.
I think all the great mystics and teachers have taught, and they taught fearlessly. They spoke the truth, because what else can you do when you have such a conviction that comes from personal experience? How can you not express that and speak your truth? But they tend to speak it like the two mystics. It's not in a condemnatory or judgmental way. They're not saying, oh well, you people are all asleep, and I'm I'm superior to you, and I'm condemning you. They speak from this genuine desire to share their experience. That's what they want to do. They want to share this experience with others and say, look, there's this amazing, like absolutely mind-blowing experience that you could have. I've had it, others have had it, and I just want to share it with you because this experience is so amazing that it will take you out of all of the pain and the suffering and the sickness and the death and all these kinds of very limiting thoughts that the ego specializes in, and it will give you what Abraham Maslow called a peak experience. But it's the same as a mystical experience. So although he called this a peak experience, he was a psychologist in the 20th century, created the hierarchy of needs, which is quite famous. And then later on in his life, towards the end of his life, he came up with an expanded hierarchy. It was originally 5, and then he expanded it to 8. A lot of people don't know that. And in the 8th level of his new expanded hierarchy of needs was this transcendence need. He called it transcendence. That people had this need for transcendent meaning. They were looking for some kind of purpose, some kind of meaning, and mystic or peak experiences, as he called them, were prime examples of this transcendent, transpersonal state. So those gave form and expression to this need for transcendence. And often with a one experience like that was then the kind of catalyst for the person to really go into that stage quite deeply. That this need for transcendence became the dominant need of their life from one mystic or peak experience. And the only reason he changed the term from mystic to peak was because his peers in the psychological world, psychological academia, were not that open to the idea that it was a mystical experience. So he just changed the terminology so that people would accept it more. But he was very clear. This is, the same experience. The peak experience is a mystic experience, a deeply felt sense of who you are. So people have been seeking these experiences, spiritual seekers, for thousands of years, and there's two primary ways that that you can do this. So the first way is through drugs, and we know in sort of our modern culture that that there are these ceremonies, plant medicine ceremonies. Actually, someone on the course is doing one this weekend, where these psychedelic drugs, such as LSD, mescaline, psilocybin, DMT, there's others, but those are the kind of main ones, contained in plants like mushrooms, San Pedro, and ayahuasca, are then, the plants are taken, plant medicine as it's called, and you have this, you go on a trip, basically. It's a psychedelic trip, and you have an experience, and it's your own experience. And so I've never actually done that. I don't know if you have, but
I tried the ayahuasca experience. Some others.
So there are some inherent risks to using any kind of external substance, because you don't know what the dosage is right. Every person reacts differently. These are powerful psychoactive chemicals, so you don't necessarily know what the effect's going to be, and it can lead to addiction to other drugs. So once you open your mind to the idea of drug use, then you might start using other things because it becomes acceptable to you. And a friend of mine had exactly that experience. He did ayahuasca, and someone offered him marijuana, and the same kind of ceremony at the same time, and then now he smokes it all the time, and that's not a mystical experience. He's just smoking it to get high. And I said, why do you do it? It's because it feels great. Well, there's nothing particularly spiritual about that. You're just addicted to the to the experience of getting high, and it's not really about anything spiritual. It's just I mean, he'd probably argue the case, because he justifies it by going, oh well, it's all part of this path to enlightenment. But if you're using a substance consistently to get there, then you're probably losing your way, because you're now in an addictive mindset. So now you need the substance, and it's not so much about your own inner experience. It's the substance that becomes the new. You're just addicted to something else. Everyone's got their addictions in this world. Whatever.
It's interesting. Some people seem to have that addictive personality, and you're probably right. We all have some kind of addiction to something. But I just found I could try those things, and it's very interesting experiences to me. But I'm not interested in using those things all the time. I don't like that experience of using those things all the time. But I know some people just really seem to have that specific personality that they really.
Well, you see, that's the danger. So,
keep going with something like that.
So you then try it, and they're not meant to be taken all the time. These are maybe once every few years, once every decade. You have an experience, and it's designed to to help you to deepen, to give you a deeper experience of yourself, to help you work through issues and whatever. And then you go and you integrate the experience. That's how it should be done. But if you have that kind of addictive personality, then the danger is you're going to go, oh, this is nice, I want the high again, so let me go and do it again in a month or less, and then you seek a high, and you think the substance is going to do it for you, and you also open yourself up to using other substances. So once you've crossed that bridge of, okay, yes, I can take drugs to change my state, well, okay, well, why can't I take something else to change my state? You see, so it's a very kind of fine line. And I'm not saying that people haven't got benefit and haven't had some profound experiences using this, but there's an inherent danger if you're using any kind of substance but it can take you into addiction and into a path that isn't actually really helping you, which is what happened with my friend. But so there's another way of doing this, of orchestrating mystical peak experiences that doesn't have these risks, and that is just breathing. So there's a Czech-born American psychologist named Stan Grof. He found that when he was using LSD as a treatment method for his patients in the 1960s, as a proper, it was all legal and proper psychological protocol of trying to induce an altered state in these people so that they would be able to work through some traumas. And they found that LSD was quite effective for that. He found that towards the end of these sessions, which would last sort of 6-7 hours, that people would start spontaneously breathing, like much more deeply. That they would just go into this kind of deep rhythmical breathing, and it just happened. So he observed all of this, and then in the late 60s, they banned the use of LSD in the US, so he couldn't use it anymore. So then he was like, okay, well, I don't want to stop this work because this is very interesting work to help people to heal from their traumas and stuff. So he began experimenting with breathing techniques to facilitate similar altered states of consciousness. It's like, well, if they start this breathing during this process, maybe the breathing can actually induce the altered state. And so they experimented with, he and his wife, Christina, developed and tested over 4 decades a methodology, breathing methodology called Holotropic Breathwork, which they've trademarked. It's a technique designed to help people experience the transcendent and transpersonal and mystic states of consciousness identified by Maslow and in many other theorists. Maslow is the only person who's identified that these states exist and that it is a state of consciousness, and that we all have this deep need to find transcendent meaning in our lives. And so in a relatively short period, just an hour or two, you could have this deep experience without using psychedelic drugs, which can put you into an altered state for a lot longer. That may not be that pleasant. I know people have been on a very bad acid trip. Acid is just psychedelics for like 3 days, and then they have to wait for the stuff to wear off to come out of it, and it wasn't at all pleasant. So there's another way of doing it, and I'm going to be guiding people through a holotropic breathing session. So just to clarify, I'm not a trained holotropic breath worker, but this is a similar technique using the breath, which I've studied and I've facilitated many of these sessions. That will be preceded by an explanatory talk and discussion this Friday. So if anyone would like to join me this Friday, the 21st of January, from 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So 12 p.m. UK time, 1 p.m. Central European time, and 2 p.m. South African time. That's also Israeli time. I'll be guiding this session, guiding you through really what, I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that it's a mind-blowing experience. So if you'd like to join us, just go to this website. It's at unleashyourmystic.com. You can see it on the screen there if you're watching the video. Unleashyourmystic.com. That'll take you to this page where you can find out more, and you can register. Just click on the well, it should actually pop up automatically, or you can click on the button, enter your details, your name, your email address, mobile number, and you'll be registered, and you'll get a confirmation email. just telling you what when it's happening, the login link, and so on. So do join me for this really pretty amazing, pretty mind-blowing experience. As someone said, I've got a little testimonial here. A lady called Joanne, it's in the UK. Thank you for this holotropic breathing class. Absolutely loved it. Mind-blowing experience, and I felt great for days after it. So she's not exaggerating. It really is a mind-blowing experience. So join me then. So in the meantime, let's just do a little meditation, shall we? So just closing your eyes, sitting comfortably, feet shoulder width apart. Keep your back straight. Close your eyes and just start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. And notice how the stomach rises and the chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Clench the sphincter muscle used to contract the flow of urine or squeeze the last drops out. You lock the energy in. And this warm wave of energy rising up the spine to your heart center and your crown. Pausing at the top of the inhale. Smile. Scan your mind, noticing any thoughts and any emotions going on. Any physical sensations connected to them. And just being willing to let go of whatever it is. So one of the key things about having a mystic experience is to let go. You need to let go of what's blocking your expanded awareness, blocks to the awareness of love's presence, as Jesus calls it. Anything that's blocking your remembrance that you are one with God. So use today's workbook lesson. I've chosen to go today's quote. So let me remember I am one with God. I'm one with love, this loving presence, this pure formless awareness. Is what I am, it's who I am. So anything else is simply not real and cannot really be there. Anything else is just illusion. So blow it all away, blow these illusions away. So any thoughts that are negative, emotions that are negative, fear, anxiety, depression, anger, hatred, jealousy, rage, guilt, fear, all of it is simply not true, because if you are one with God, if you are one with your own awareness, one with your own pure formless awareness, as Rumi says in his quote, that I searched for God and found only myself, and I searched for myself and found only God. Right? This awareness is your awareness. And all the mystic experience is saying is, you are this presence, this essence. It's not somewhere outside of you. This is the very essence of who you are. So just sink into an experience of this essence, this presence for a couple of minutes. Just breathing in and out through your nose. Nice, deep, slow, rhythmical breaths. Step back and observe the breath. Just noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. And slowing the air flow in and out through the nostrils. And as you observe that, you bring your mind into the present moment. So you're completely present. And you just open your mind to this spacious awareness. So there's really nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Really relax and be still, sink in, and deeper with each breath into this deep state, the mystic experience of love, which is your own true awareness. Just let your mind go there, let the breath take you there, sinking deeper and deeper into it with every breath. You just merge into it. There's no sense of you and other, it's just one experience, as Meister Eckhart says, the eyes through which I see God or love is the same eye through which God or love sees me. My eye and God's eye are one eye, one seeing, one knowing, and one love. So eye is really just a metaphor for awareness. Awareness to which I see God, which is perfect oneness, or pure formless awareness. So the awareness to which I see pure formless awareness is the same awareness to which pure formless awareness sees me, because it's one awareness. My eye or my awareness and God's awareness, the awareness of love, love's awareness, are one eye, one awareness, one seeing from that awareness, one knowing. You know that this awareness is your own awareness, and one love. And so just surrender into that love. A couple of minutes of deep silence. Nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Just be the love, the awareness, pure formless awareness that you really are. Nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Breathe, relax, be still. Sink in deeper and deeper into this awareness. And if any thoughts come in to seemingly block or distract this awareness, just imagine they're like clouds just drifting by. So they come and they go, they just drift by, and you just help them on their way. The breeze of your breath. And so as you exhale out through the mouth, just blow them away and have a sense of this infinite, open, spacious awareness, just like the blue sky analogy, just vast and infinite. There's no limit to it. And you're in this. This is you. You are it. So the light of your source shines through it. So let that light shine through. Shining in your mind. Filling up your heart. It's the truth. Sink into this truth, know this truth experientially. Another minute or two of deep silence. And so very gently it's coming back. On the count of 3 into an awareness of the body, breath and senses in the world. Bring awareness back into these things, but in this very present way. So you're rooted in presence or essence. Pure formless awareness rather than being continuously distracted by all the things that are blowing through your mind. So on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, just breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. pausing at the top of that inhale. Scan your mind, just noticing any thoughts, any emotions going on, any sensations. And if there's anything that's not helpful, that's feeling a little unpleasant, negative, limiting, contracted, constricting in any way, any energy, just observe it casually and know that this is not permanent. Simply an error, mistake that obscures truth of pure formless awareness. So you just blow it out, letting it all go. So nothingness that really is. Notice how the air flows out, chest and stomach suck back in. Energy subsides back down the front channel of your body, coming to rest in your lower stomach and groin. Just noticing the gap between breasts as this pure formless awareness arising. Smile. Awareness of this awareness is arising. And it maintains, it's there always. It's your foundational awareness. It's what underlies all of your sense perceptions. So as you notice, for instance, the weight of your body on the count of 2 pressing down into the chair, and the feet touching the ground, you notice smelling with the nose, touching your body, subtle flow of air in your skin, perhaps breathe that air in. Notice any smell in your nose, taste in your mouth, and notice what you're hearing in the surrounding environment. Just noticing all these things from a very still, calm, and surrendered state, without judgment. Notice how peaceful it is when you perceive this way. So this pure formless awareness, which you hopefully connected with very deeply, can help you to stay in this very peaceful, calm, non-judgmental state, even while you're operating in the world. And then you know yourself as God, as one knowing, one seeing, and one love. As Meister Eckhart put it. Today's workbook lesson, Jesus says, let me remember I'm one with God. This is a moment by moment remembrance, because you are rooted in this awareness that is God. God is pure formless awareness. So you remember that this awareness is your awareness, unclouded by everything else we've added, which is merely illusion. So on the count of 3, come back, open your eyes, look around, just noticing what's going on in the room around you visually. Let your eyes rest randomly on an object for a few seconds and move to another object, just randomly, whatever happens to be in your field of vision. And then another one. So I'll do that for half a dozen objects and notice that actually the same awareness is present in all of them. So if you're not naming the objects and judging them and labeling them, and this underlying presence just shines through. This presence is your pure formless awareness. This is what Meister Eckhart is pointing to. Same awareness. The I is the awareness. Eye through which I see God is the same eye through which God sees me. I and God's eye are one. I'm seeing one, knowing one love. And you can maintain in this awareness. Just by staying rooted in this awareness, you can have this ongoing experience of God. So what the Bible, Paul said, you pray without ceasing. By being rooted in this awareness, you are praying to God without ceasing, because it is foundational awareness. And the mystic experience really takes you into that awareness, to a personal experience of that awareness, which is why it's so powerful. And once you've experienced it, you cannot not know it again. You cannot forget it. It's always going to be there. So I hope this session of meditation has brought you to this awareness of your own awareness, that you are this awareness, and connected you with it, and that will help you to stay in this awareness for the rest of the afternoon, evening. Thank you for joining us, and Namaste, which means the divine awareness. Me, pure formless awareness in me, acknowledges and honors that same awareness in you.